My name's Norris and I'm here with Willie Short, Short Company. You guys have been in the car wash business a long time. You're the ones that got me in the business. So if anybody has any problems with anything, look at Willie Short. These guys, their family got me in this business. Here we are. We just finished a close. It was kind of a long process. A lot of people think, you know, closing a land transaction and what you guys are getting ready to do, you're getting ready to build a car wash. We found a tract of land, but just because you find a tract of land, I mean, my goodness, there are some hurdles to overcome to get to closing. I mean, are there any things that kind of stick out, you know?
Just get your ducks in a row. It's, you know, you've got, like you said, the hurdles that you've got. On this, we're going with an SBA loan, so we have to appease the SBA. We have to appease the bank. We had to have all, like I said, all our ducks in a row to get it done. We had to, we have 3 extensions on this deal, and had to go back and renegotiate the price on the land one time.
Now that was something a lot of people don't realize this. When you buy a tract of land, and we didn't think of this either. But here it was, there was over an acre of land there. Actually, it was 100 by 110 or 112 feet. And come to find out, 100 feet was in the highway. And so we had to go back, renegotiate, I mean, off like $60,000. And I didn't even know if that was going to happen. I thought right then the deal was going to blow apart. And lo and behold, they realized that they didn't have what they thought they had either. It surprises me.
Yeah. I'm going to correct you a little bit. It's 500 by 100 feet, not 100 by 110.
Right.
But yeah, it was 500 feet deep, 100 feet wide, which is fit with what we needed for dimensions. But when we got to looking at it, we were looking at over 50,000 square feet of land. But by the time the easement was taken into play, we had lost 100 feet off the front end that we couldn't do anything with. So luckily the seller saw that and concurred with the need to go down back on the price.
Because if you would not have been able to reduce the that price, your land costs would have gone up, and probably you wouldn't have got the deal done.
It would have been
questionable.
It would have been questionable. I mean, you know, you have to make the numbers work. And like I said, with the SBA, you know, they're stringent on their requirements on how stuff works out. And
so, at the point you buy the land, then we had to negotiate from that. So we reduced the price further. And then we had to look at the building setbacks. We had to look at where the utilities were. Because a lot of times people don't realize, well, you hope the water's there, you hope the sewer's there, but until you do your research, you really don't know.
Yeah, you don't know where it's at on the property. This one had a private sewer line running through the middle of it, so we didn't know if there was an easement for that you couldn't build over. So your girls at the office there, they took care of researching that and found out what we needed to know on that, and everything worked out good.
So just because you see the ground above doesn't mean, I mean, there's some stuff underneath. You got to really do your homework.
Yep.
Now, okay, we had that issue, and then when did you bring the architect? Did you bring the architect, I mean, have you been talking to the architect all along before you bought the land, so you knew kind of what to look for, or what?
We brought him in right after we put the first bid in, or after the first bid was accepted. We brought him in. He got his deal working on levels, where the utilities were, where they would connect at, and where the building would be, what the setbacks would be. The architect, he comes in, takes the raw piece of land, and tells us where we can put stuff.
And so even after chopping off that 100 feet, which, my God, that's a lot, you still could do what you needed to do.
Fortunately, with this piece of land, it was deep enough that it still met our requirements.
So I guess thank God for that extra piece of land.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it was an awkward shaped piece of land, but for what we needed it for, the width was just fine. What's hard to find is the depth that we needed. We needed a minimum of 100 wide by minimum of 300 deep, and fortunately this one started out as 100 by 500. We thought we'd have a little on the backside, but we'll just have a little less than we thought we would.
You know what's really nice about this tract of land? You have, like if this was the main road right here, you have 100 foot of frontage right here, and then you have 400 foot of road frontage on the side road
On the side road, right.
So you really got some great accessibility.
It's not landlocked. It's well placed.
So are the plans to bring the cars in from here, or can they come in from down here?
That'll be up to the city of Bartlesville on what their requirements are, because this is a Highway 75. Don't know what their building requirements are.
Accessibility to,
right,
or curb cuts.
Curb cuts.
Right.
I don't know what they are for a major highway, but the way it's situated, if it has to be on the side here, it'll work just fine.
Do you see now? You guys are going to put a exterior only
Express wash.
express wash, and then you're going to have free vacuums.
Right.
And your price points are going to start between $3 and they'll go up to
$9.
$9. You know, from that, here we did. We negotiated off the price of the land. Then we had to evaluate to find out where the utilities were. You brought in your architect to make sure that the land of the building was going to fit on this tract of land. And then, you know, it seems like it always, then we had some issues with the billboard, which we negotiated that. You negotiated that, which I have to admit you did pretty good negotiations on that at the last minute. So you bumped it up almost twice than what they were originally getting.
Actually over twice what they were getting originally.
And then, and so you also negotiated before closing where to move the sign. So you got them to move the sign from one spot to the other, raise the rent.
Well, you helped a little with that, so don't give that all to me.
So anyway, this all made a lot of sense on how you did that. You know, hold on. Hey, Jack. He lost me there. Just a second. Let me think here. Don't ever do that, Jack. I lost my whole train of thought.
Sorry. I thought I had my phone turned
Okay.
on.
And then here we were going through the whole process of the closing, and all of a sudden you would think loan officer calls up the day before the closing and they missed finding some tax reports, which I know we sent over to them, but they just flat lost the reports, or somehow no one had them.
Right.
So we had to go back and get those. I mean, it just seemed like you would think these guys would have their act together, but I guess that's kind of how this whole process is. You got to follow it, you know, do your checklist, and then even when you do it, sometimes people forget, they lose files.
People are human.
Yeah.
You know, it's I've realized, and which will help me on the upcoming construction part of it, to do my due diligence and tell somebody to do something, see if they do it, follow up and make sure that it gets done.
Because this is not the first time you've built a wash.
No, we've done several.
And so even with your expertise in building washes, you still have hurdles to overcome. I mean, the loan process is not an easy process.
No, especially if you're dealing with an SBA government. There's so much I crossing and I dotting and T crossing. Kind of crosses your eyes too. But
yeah.
It would almost drive you nuts.
Because, like you said, we had 3 extensions to go through. And I know on a deal that we just closed the other day, we had like 6 extensions. And a lot of times people just don't realize, you know, you hope that you're going to close it within that time frame, but something happens. You know, the bank doesn't have their documents together, the abstracting's not completely finished, or there's some questions about the title. So it just on and on and on. And then the seller wonders, well, my God, are we ever going to close on this thing? And it's not anybody's fault.
The seller's got the easy part.
Yeah, just to sit there and wait.
Right.
And here we are trying to get all the information together, gather everything, make sure you're comfortable, because you know you have this feasibility time frame. And there were we had like 2 or 3 extensions just on the feasibility time frame.
Just make sure all the due diligence could be taken care of.
And at any point during that due diligence period, you could have walked away and said, hey, I want my earnest money back, but then there was a point that you felt comfortable enough to go on.
We'd research things to where we knew that it could happen. You know, there wouldn't be a problem with the setback or easements or utilities. So we knew it was feasible, so we went ahead. That's why it's been a real stressful week. You know, when last extension was today and the day before. The banker says he can't do it because he doesn't have something. Oh yeah, and then the seller says, I'm not going to give you one more extension. And I don't blame him. I mean, it's I'd asked for 3, so it had drug on quite a while. Yeah, but I know this. Everybody was in earnest to get the deal done. Right, they were very acquiescing on getting it taken care of. So it's just, I tell you what, anytime you get into these loans, anytime you have to borrow money from people, be patient. You know, the sellers have to be patient, but the buyers are going to have to be patient. Yelling, screaming doesn't get the job done. No, just following up on everything. I would recommend calling daily. They'll think you're a pest, but you'll get it taken care of. Absolutely. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I think this, you have a checklist of things, and that's one thing that we keep in front of us all the time. We have a timeline when the feasibility time's over with, and also we have a checklist of what needs to be done according to that contract. And as they're done, and sometimes, you know, you think they're done, everybody says they're done, but they're not done. And then that's what really gets frustrating. You know, everybody says, oh yeah, we did that, oh yeah, we did that, and come to find out, it wasn't done. And so it ain't done until the check changes hands. That's the truth. Well, Willie and I can vouch that, you know, going through the bank, which many of us have to do, to buy car washes, to build car washes, is be patient, work through it, have a checklist, make sure you're following the timelines. And Willie, this is Norris Streetman with carwashforsale.net. Thanks for listening in.